Hi, everybody. So today I'm doing a live stream. I've just had such a busy couple of weeks that I didn't have time to do a podcast this week. And some of my normal co-hosts are out of town and doing different things. So I thought this would just be super fun to finally give my ranking of the Best Picture nominees. This year I've seen all of the nominees. Last year I didn't see Triangle of Sadness. It just didn't interest me. This year, I saw all of them, and so I can rank all of them. And yeah, we'll talk about them. Of course, this is just my ranking and what I enjoyed the most. I actually gave a fresh review for all of these except for one. So technically, I recommended all of them except for one. So there you go. Pretty good year, I'd say, for the Oscars. And I will have the chat room open. So if you want to put in your feelings on these movies, your ranking, put in the chat room. If you want to do super chat, I would love that. I'd be very grateful. And let's talk about it. All right, number 10 is the one that I did not go fresh on. It is Maestro. And there are some impressive things about this. Obviously, it's interesting to learn about a person like Leonard Bernstein, who was so influential, and particularly in the world of musical theater, which is a world that I love. So it was interesting to learn about him and his life. But I felt like the problem was that everything felt very phony to me. The performances felt phony. The script felt very phony. Nobody felt like a real person. And I know he was a really flamboyant guy. And that would make sense in parties, in the kind of big moments, but to not have really hardly any softer, sincere moments with the characters. Everybody always felt like they were putting on an air, putting on an act. And so people say, oh, the performance saved it. Not for me. I thought everybody felt extremely phony. And so to me, it is number 10. Number 9 is where I have The Zone of Interest. And The Zone of Interest, I think, is a very interesting experiment. It's something that I would recommend seeing. I think it's an interesting movie because you want to talk about it with people and what it's trying to do, and this idea of sort of telling the story of the most horrific event that has ever happened practically in this world through the people that lived next door who were living somehow ordinary lives. I think that's an interesting concept, and there are some really effective moments. One of the most effective moments, I think, is when he is fishing and he fishes out a skull. I mean, that's just very, very chilling. And the whole time, I mean, the sound design becoming, if it doesn't win best sound, I just think that's outrageous because it told a whole story with the sound. I can't think of hardly any other movies where the sound is literally a character within the story. And so that sound in the background was just so chilling. All of that worked for me. And I also thought the ending worked with the sort of flashback to or flash forward to modern times, and kind of showing the banality of evil, and how even in our time we kind of, something like a Holocaust museum or a camp would become kind of ordinary. And so all of that I think worked. My main problem with the movie is that I think that it's too long. I think this would have worked much better as a short. I think it kind of makes this point and then makes it again and again and again and again and again. And it started to lose its effectiveness. Whereas I think if it had been a featurette or a short, it would have really packed it home, and I wouldn't have gotten kind of weary of it. And it would have been more effective, I think, as a short. But I do recommend it, and I think it's a very interesting film. So there we go. Number 8 is where I have Poor Things. Poor Things, I think that it is another interesting film. I think that Emma Stone's performance is fearless and brave. Not just the nudity, but just that she is willing to play all parts of this character, whether it's a baby, whether it's all the different stages of growing up. Like, she just goes for it. I think that's really impressive. I also think the production and the costumes and the cinematography, all that is excellent. I do think that it does become repetitive. I do think it's too long. I do think it is indulgent. I don't understand really why you needed the whole Paris section because she had just come aware of her sexuality and how she could use it on the boat. And so I don't understand really why it was so essential to her growth to be a sex worker and why we need to spend so much time. Like whatever, if that's what they wanted to do. I just it just felt redundant as far as her growth process to me, and it just felt long, that section. I would have taken that whole part out. I think the whole movie would be much tighter, and yeah, I don't know. That wasn't my favorite. But it's an interesting piece of art. It's very self-indulgent and very um it's trying really hard to be like crazy and weird and so not really my cup of tea, but I do think it had good things about it. Then number 7 is American Fiction. This is where I have American Fiction. I think this movie is very funny. I liked the script, especially the parts involving satire, and I think it's just super funny. It's like they're sort of trolling the Oscars because if you watch the movie, the kind of things that are praised and rewarded uh in the book that he writes, in the way that the people giving out awards and prizes and stuff like that talk it's like the height of irony that it then gets nominated. I'm glad it did. I don't really understand why Sterling K. Brown got nominated. He's like fine, but I don't nothing special. But Jeffrey Wright is great. He's really really funny, and you relate, very endearing in the role. I think the stuff with his family is less effective, and less effective than the satire, and so that's why it's at 7. But it's still an overall very entertaining film. Number 6 is where I have Anatomy of a Fall. This was a lot better than I expected. I thought, oh, this is going to be, hmm. I just saw the live chat is not on the video. I don't know why. Hmm. Huh. I don't know. Sorry about that. If I look at the YouTube video, it looks like it has the chat up. So I think it's something wrong with, yeah, it looks good to me. I see the chat. So I'm not sure. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what the problem is. Um, anyway, what were we talking about? We were lost it. Shoot. Yeah, I just checked. The chat is up, and so please put in your chats and super chats. I would love to see that. Okay, Anatomy of a Fall. So this was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It looked really pretentious for some reason. I don't know why in particular, but it was actually a really gripping story. I really got invested in the mystery of, did this woman kill her husband, and each kind of back and forth, and you get insights into their marriage. And yeah, did he kill himself, or did she kill? And it I don't know, I thought that was very engrossing. I enjoyed it. I think that I think that most anybody who likes true crime or mysteries will like this one. It's a lot more accessible than I thought. Just looking at it, I thought, oh, this is going to be real art house, but it's really not. It's really not. And great performances for sure. The little boy is really good. Sandra Hüller is wonderful. So yeah, I would, and she's really good in Zone of Interest as well. So she had an amazing year. So that's number 6 for me. It is a little too long, so that would be its downside. Number 5 is where I have Past Lives. I think this is an excellent film. I really like that it explores the idea of this woman contemplating the other path she could have taken, the other life that she could have had if she hadn't moved from Korea and with this other person. And she's married. I loved her husband so much. I thought he was just so charming and sweet and unconditional love. I just really, really enjoyed him and his performance. And I was in agony watching. That's why it's 5, because I was so anxious when I watched it at Sundance, because I was like, no, don't cheat on your husband. He's so nice. Please. And so that's the reason why it's not higher, because it was not a very comfortable or enjoyable experience for me to watch it, because I was so anxious. But it was really well done, and I did become very invested in the story. So I got to give it that. And I think if I watched it more times, now that I know the ending, I think I'd actually enjoy it more, because I just wouldn't be so anxious. But I think it's very well done. It's number 5. Number 4 is where I have Oppenheimer. And again, this is just my enjoyment level. This is not saying that the other 3 are necessarily better or whatever. But I think that this is a very well directed film, and I'm glad to see. I think it's going to be the one that Christopher Nolan wins an Oscar for, because I think he deserves it for this. The way that he was able to make something as boring and dry as congressional hearings engaging, I think deserves a lot of praise. And the editing, I think it absolutely deserves to win Best Editing, because again, something as boring as congressional hearings, he was able to make engaging by the way it was edited, in combining the different timelines and the different stories. And it made it very, very engaging and interesting. And something as dry as history can be, he made it compelling because of the way it was directed and the way it was edited. I think that that is probably the movie's greatest strength. I do think Cillian Murphy is very good as Oppenheimer. It's a very complex character, complex person in history that was trying to stop the bad people from getting this technology, was his initial desire. But then what happened after the bad people were, the Germans, at least, who was his initial desire, were taken out, then, and then it being used on the Japanese, that it's a complicated thing. It's very complicated, and he's a complicated man. And I think Cillian Murphy did a very good job of demonstrating that. And I think the peak of the movie is the whole segment when he's given the speech. And it's such a commentary on Americana and American values and everything. And so I think that's very well done. The whole Trinity test was incredible to watch. Chilling, of course, but very, very good. I still think that the female characters were very weak. I don't think that they behaved in a way that felt authentic to their characters and who they were. That they were all kind of these needy women who relied on Oppenheimer for their self-worth. And I think that there was definitely more to them, these women, and I just would have liked to have gotten to know them better through the course of the movie. But yeah, and some of the sensuality to me felt unnecessary. I wasn't offended by it. Calm down. But I just felt like these characters I don't think would behave in this way. They're more buttoned up characters. They're not like bohemians, so I don't think that they'd be like flouncing around like this. I know it just didn't feel authentic to the characters to me. So that's some flaws. It is a long movie, but I think it's pretty effective. It was better in that regard than I expected. I know some people did have the sound problems, which is very annoying that Nolan keeps doing that. Please stop. And so, those are some of the downsides. But it's overall, I think, a very good film from Nolan. Number 3 is where I have Barbie. I really enjoyed this. I thought that it was funny and sweet, and I enjoyed the songs and the characters and the world building. And I liked what it had to say about how we label each other. And if we could just talk to each other instead of labeling each other and learn a little bit about their perspective, that could go a long way. And so I enjoyed that in the movie. I think that it's a little messy as far as the script. It does get a little heavy-handed at points, but not enough to ruin the movie for me. But it was trying to do a lot of things all in one movie, and so it got a little messy. But I still overall really enjoyed it, and it was a nice one to like talk about. And what's it doing? What's it trying to say? And it kind of showed that a big mainstream IP movie could do that and still do that, which is really cool. Number 2 for me is Killers of the Flower Moon. I think that this was a very compelling story. It was something I didn't know really anything about. I thought this was going to be really boring, but I was engaged the whole time. I thought it, for the most part, I thought it was really, really a gripping story. And Lily Gladstone's so good in this role. And a lot of people complained about the fact that it was told from Leonardo DiCaprio's perspective, but I think that was intentional because I think we are supposed to I think the movie was trying to say something about power and control and how even if you have money, if you don't have the power, you still don't have control. You don't have the actual power in your own lives. And you look at how these people were able to be manipulated in these horrible ways. It's shocking, it's upsetting, it's awful, but I think it is really compelling and really well done. And I think if it had been from Lily's perspective, I think it would have been another just victim trauma narrative. And I don't think it would have been as interesting or as like thought provoking as what they ended up deciding. I think that would have actually been kind of more generic and less effective in actually showing how unfair the situation was. So Jess says Ryan Gosling has a thing to say about Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig getting snubbed for an Oscar nomination. Yeah. I mean, it is the height of irony, of course, that Greta and Margot wouldn't get nominated, but Ken would. It's very funny. I mean, I don't really, to be honest, I don't think much in Barbie deserved Oscars, even though I did enjoy it. I just because I felt like it was a little messy, but yeah, it is ironic that if you are, then to not nominate Greta and Margot is funny. But they did get nominated because they were nominated for screenplay and producing. So they're not totally without nominations. So yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so yeah, that's where I have Killers of the Flower Moon at number 2. My number 1 of these Best Picture nominees is The Holdovers. I really loved this movie. I thought it was so funny. I really love this movie. I thought it was so funny. I thought it was so endearing. I really liked the characters. I loved the script. I, of course, loved the Christmas vibes because I'm a Christmas movie queen. So I loved that. I loved the fact that Paul Giamatti's character has a strabismus in his eye, which I've never seen in a movie. I don't know how they did that. That was so cool. As somebody who also has a strabismus and really struggles with eye contact, that was very cool to see in a movie. And I'm amazed at how, I guess it's some contacts or something, because that was really cool. I really love stories of friendship, and so this is an easy win for me. This friendship that develops between Paul Giamatti and Dominic Sessa's character. It's an unlikely friendship, but it is a friendship, and kind of the sacrifice that Giamatti makes at the end for Dominic's character is just very, very, very endearing and lovely. And it's a funny movie. It's a well-made movie. And it's definitely, I think Barbie's pretty rewatchable. This is very rewatchable as well, of these nominees. And so I mean, I think I'll probably watch it every Christmas from now on. And so there we go. Let me know what you think, what your ranking for these 10 would be. I would love to see that in the comment section or on Twitter, or make your own videos and tag me. I would love to watch those. That would be really fun. And every single week, if you join my Patreon, you get exclusive reviews written by me. I've been doing the AFI series, AFI Passion series, where I've been reviewing each week one of the films on the AFI 100 Passions list. Almost finished that project, so that's pretty cool. But there's tons of benefits to becoming a patron. You get to be part of watch-alongs. You get to learn how movies are made, and so all for any tier can do that. So please take a look at that. I would really appreciate it. And then we also have the merch store, where you can get tons of fun movie designs, like my female film critic panel design shirts, which are really, really fun. I love those. So take a look. You can get them in any color that you want. And I would really appreciate you checking that out. And I think that's everything. It'll be fun seeing what wins. And I'm also doing an episode of the Criterion Project where we are giving our recommendations for if you like this of the Oscar nominees, you might like this other one. So check that out as well. That's going to be fun. So that's everything. And we'll talk to you all later. Bye.